Hey everybody, this is Lisa Baudouin. Welcome to Lisa's chat room. Today is Monday, March 16th, 2026. I wanted to talk about my punching bag that I have made, which is pretty much done. Have a few more things to do on it, but I wanted to just make this video and get it finished. Now, if there are any additions, amendments, errors, deletions, I will put them in the description below. And then also too, I'm going to break this video into two parts. The first part is basically the theory of why I made it, and then getting into the details of how I made it. But before I begin, I have to disclose I'm not an expert in anything, and anything I share with you, if you try it, use it, or buy it, you do so at your own risk and peril. Also too, I'm not affiliated, endorsed, or reimbursed by any company or product that I talk about in my videos. And finally, if you get something from this video, please give it a like, subscribe, share with friends and family, and drop that comment below, because I do vet and read every single one and usually reply. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about, this first part of the video, is I want to talk about the theory of why I made this bag. I started thinking about it, I don't know, a couple years ago, and then I finally got into it about 6 months ago, and it has been difficult. It's not been easy. I started with towels, tore that down. I built this at least 3 times. And you can see I extended it because I didn't have it long enough. And then I had cut it down too short. So then I had to lengthen it again. And so it has been a challenge. And that's the whole point. I call this challenge therapy. So back in the day, prior to going to the moon, which I'm not going to get into that, the most important thing I'm saying here is JFK said, we're not going to do this because it's easy, but mostly because it's hard. It's a challenge. This is what humankind is meant to do. And I think looking at kids today, and even my kids, my son had said, Mom, you could go buy this and it'd be cheaper. You'd have it done. You could get it for like $35, $50, somewhere around there, used one. But that's not the point. And even though I did spend some money, which I'll talk about in the second half, that's not the point. The point is to have a challenge, physical and mental. And due to my mental conditions, I realize how much that is needed in my brain. All the studying that I have done, we have neurotransmission. We have physical things going on, mental things going on, spiritual things going on in our bodies and in our brains. Kind of long story there. I don't want to really get into it, except to say that when we are processing mentally, if we don't ask ourselves questions why, I think those processes will eventually go away or dummy down, and you're not using those things. So I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I am constantly challenging myself, at least with something that is, I guess you could say in a way, frustrating at times. And this was, but I got done, and I knew it would take a long time. And the thing is this just because I have a mental condition that I want to challenge myself? No, I think that everybody should challenge themselves with some type of project. Something that's difficult, and you're going to learn all about it, and then you're going to put it together. And it might fail, and you have to do it over and over and over and over again, which is what I had to do to this thing. I have made this thing like 4 times, and I think I've got it how I want it now. Okay, first of all, just letting you know that when I became frustrated, what I would do is I'd stop what I was doing, and I'd go upstairs and I'd go do something that I knew I could do, and I would hopefully succeed at it. I have those things. I have like a list of things I need to do. I need to do this and this and this and this and this. Some of them are very challenging. Some of them are super easy. So the ones that I know I can get done in a limited amount of time, I put them in between this. And that way I'm at least accomplishing something. For me, I need to accomplish something. And sometimes the accomplishment is just to chill out for the day. Really, truly. Especially when you're sick or you're not feeling good. You just want to chill out. And that is an accomplishment, at least for me, because I'm used to getting up and moving around. But the neurotransmission, your brain is working. And really, okay, I'm not an expert in this, and I share that with you, but I do a lot of research, and I find that structures of the brain, what's happening is you've got registry systems and control systems that are controlling the physical part of you. You've got control systems that are controlling the mental part of you. And then you've got control systems, whether you know it or not, and I will be coming out with them hopefully by the end of this year, that are spiritual, that are there too. So, but you've got these systems in your brain, you have to use them. That's part of the structure of your brain. But the function is using them, but what you have to do aside from the challenge therapy is make sure you get your nutrition. You have to optimize your nutrition to the point where you are going to be able to process. And the thing is it's kind of any kind of machine. If you think of a car that doesn't have gas, it doesn't have oil, it's going to break down in one way or another, correct? If it doesn't have water, it's going to break down. Same concept with you and me. All these list of things that we need, and you have to try to get them in. So part of that information that I want to talk about more is in what I call the HMP, a health management program playlist is what I'm talking about there. And I actually get into the structure of the physical body and then the function of the body. But I'm more or less targeting the physical part of the body. Where Therapies for a Better Me, I'm talking about the structure of the body again, especially when it comes to the brain and neurotransmission and nutrition. But I'm going into the mental aspect. So if you want, that's where you would go. You'd go to Therapies for a Better Me to look at mental aspects, and you'd go to the HMP to see the physical aspects of it. But a long ways to go, and I'm still researching, and you're never done. You're never done. And even when you fix up your house, all of a sudden, you painted your house, it's really nice. A few years go by, you got to paint again. Or something breaks. It's just never going to stop. You have to accept that. And the challenge therapy keeps, I think, my brain working. Those functioning processes that wouldn't work if I'm not going to challenge myself. So I think it's very important to think about that when you're listening to this video on how to create a punching bag. Maybe you're here because you wanted to create a punching bag. That's fine. Maybe you're here just because you're interested in how did this little old lady make this. Totally up to you. But to me, I want to share information because I think that's really important to share my insights into how I see things and why it's so important. My grandkids, we have school. That's right. I've taught them time. I've taught them fractions. I teach them how to tie their shoes because kids don't tie their shoes nowadays. Could that be why kids aren't functioning at the highest optimal level, along with the nutrition? What is going on with the nutrition, which is a whole nother nightmare. I will say this is the last thing I'll talk about in this part. My friend is over in Europe right now, and they go quite a bit. And they said this. They said, quote, "I never feel so good as when I come over here. When I'm in the States, I feel sluggish. I feel tired. I feel not happy. The foods I eat, I feel sleepy." And they said, when I go over to Europe, the foods I eat, I feel alive. There's hardly any chemicals. They really do a good job at restricting things and making sure things aren't getting in like dyes and high amounts of sugar. And they're warning you if there is high amounts of sugar in there so you can make good choices. They're not pushing a product on you just to sell it. They're pushing a product, having you make an informed choice and also to a healthier choice. So I will say that could it be our kids today, first of all, are not getting the optimal nutrition that they need? And second, they need challenges. Because like my son said, I could have gone out and bought this thing. That's right. How many times have you just gone on the website, Walmart or eBay or wherever, and, oh, that's really cheap, I'll buy it. Boom. And you get it. Because you don't want to take the time to make it. And some things I don't, of course. But there's some things, at least one project you should try to do on your own. Try to make on your own. If it's artsy, and see, for me, art is fun. So I don't really have a hard time with art. Although I do some string art. But for me, string art is fun. For instance, these things here, I make these. They are a challenge, putting the wire on there and making them just right. That is totally a challenge. Here's another one. But they're really pretty and they can hang in the window or whatever on the wall. So I love doing that. I also hand cut wine bottles and then I make outside ornaments. So here's an example of an outside ornament. This is my very first one. That's why I kept it. And it's just a glass bottle that I cut and then I drilled the holes. And I have all the tools and I wear all the safety gear and whatnot when I'm doing this, by the way. But this was my very first one that I did. And so I do lots of art projects, but that's not the same as something like they call this challenge therapy. The other ones are basically art therapy. They're really enjoyable therapy. They're something where I can enjoy, take a breather, forget about the stress of what's going on out there and just solely concentrate on what's going on in my head and in my home and make sure that I am enjoying things from time to time. So I think that's really important. Okay, part 2 now. And pardon me for my heater. It's right next door and it's loud. So I'm sorry about that, but hopefully you can just forget it. I don't usually put music in my videos because I don't want to entrance you. I want you to hear what I have to say, and then you decide if it's right for you, or you make that decision. Is she telling the truth? What's her agenda? Is she trying to sell me something? Absolutely nothing. I'm trying to share the insight is to try to use those higher processes of your brain. And really, once you're done with something like this, you do enjoy it. It's like, wow, this is going to be so much fun. I'm really going to enjoy this. I already used it once and I tried it out, and I had to do some modifications already. So I did. And so I'm going to walk through what I made here. So when I first started, I had started with 2 towels that I had sewn together, and I went this way and I put them on a hoop. Way too big. I started stuffing it, and it was almost as wide as, this whole thing. So I made this one instead. I had one too small, and this one seemed to be perfect. The problem was I didn't make it tall enough. So then I did extra, you can see. So one of the most important things is, first of all, understand where you're going to put it. Make that plan. Now I'm still not done here. I want to put a 2x4 right here and put another one of these. I think you definitely should have 3, right? My problem is I have to seal this up. There's a crack here, and that's not from me or anything. That was here when I bought the house. I just painted over it and said I'll get to it. I'm sure that crack probably goes around this wall, because this was all here, but I painted it and I did the ceiling. So, but this was all here, and they were probably hiding this huge crack. I don't know. I have no clue. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a 2x4, because there's a 2x4 there, a 2x4 there, and so I've got these real strong brackets here. I want to have one more, and I want it about here, right past the stack. But that's the problem. The stack is in the way, and that's probably why they didn't build the wall. So I'm just going to have that 2x4 there, so, and another one up there to brace the hanger. Okay. And I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. So then at least I've got a little bit more support, and I will brace those 2x4s by the 2x4s that are in here. I personally think you should have 3. The second thing is your rod. Now this is a solid wood rod that I got from one of the closets upstairs. I personally think you should have an iron rod. This is a 1.5 inch rod. It's solid wood. Definitely do not buy some cheap ass rod and think this is going to work, because it's not. You need something solid. I would go with iron, and even maybe iron pipe, like a water pipe. Now I used to make curtain rods with water pipe. I'm a real estate agent, retired. It's dormant right now. But I did custom staging, and I used to buy real long water pipe and have it threaded on both sides, and then I would have it cut to fit, and I would use it as the rod. It was much cheaper. This year I'll be looking for something a little more solid than this. This is going to be okay for now for me, but I need to have something, I think personally, more solid. And I think if you're going to make this, that's what you should do. Just right away get an iron rod. This is a 1.5 inch. Right now, the next thing is I had to redo this. This was not working because it's so heavy. So I have a U bracket up there that has bolts at the top, and you're going to have to be careful so that when you're using this every once in a while, you're going to check before you use it that the bolts are in place, because this could fall. So I've got that, and then I've got some bracketing, and this is all one, it's all I can afford, and 2, it's could find. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do here? Now I'm using really heavy chain, and I'm using this chain, and I'm using these things, but bigger. You're going to want the bigger ones. See these here? That's what you're going to want. And then I'm using really heavy chain, and actually I had the man at Home Depot cut these to 10. Now I'm going to leave them because I'm just going to throw them in there, and it's perfectly fine. If I ever went to one of the kids and they have a taller ceiling or something, I'm going to want to make sure that they can adjust this for their ceiling. But you can see here what is happening is I've got the chains, and I put them on using this. All right. Now, before I go any further here, I've got this rod really securely put on here with wire, heavy wire, and these. So it's not going anywhere. I also have this over here because this was slipping and sliding for a while, but now it's fine. It's going to stay. But you want to make sure that what you're using is really heavy and thick. And especially it depends upon what you're going to stuff the bag with. So I'll get to that in a minute. But I have them wired on too, as well as this. All right. Now with your hoops. All right. What I did, and I'm going to show you here. I took the bottom hoop, and you just take and you measure right across, and you multiply it by 3.14, which is pi. And that's going to give you the width of your fabric. I would add at least a half an inch or an inch. You know, try it out. Add an inch on each side. So that plus 2 inches. Then check it out to see that it fits your hoop. You can use pins to do that, or you can even use clothespins. I used clothespins on mine and tried it. Now this is a small hoop, of course, but that's the next thing. You have to get a really good hoop. And actually, I would do a couple if I were you. Because, again, depending upon what you're going to use. If you're going to use plastic, it's light. If you're going to use clothes, it's really heavy. So you may want to use 2 hoops on the bottom and 2 hoops on the top to sustain it. What I did was my hoops, I didn't have to. I took the duct tape and I taped it around and around and around to hopefully support it in case it would break. Now for me, if it does break, I'm right here, of course. It's not going to fall very far. And I'm going to hear it or know it before it does. What I did was then I took and I put the material, I sewed the bottom on first. And I used really strong darning thread with a big needle. And I sewed it on really, really good. When I did this, I made the cylinder. I actually used my sewing machine. And I used a very short stitch. So it's really stitched tightly here. And then I did a zigzag stitch. And I actually did a couple stitches just in case it would give. All right, so you're going to make it where it is that diameter all the way up. But at the top, I had it where it had this hoop. But I found I like this hoop better. I just like where it kind of comes up. It's much nicer. It seems to sit a little bit better. And I did the same concept here. I took and I sewed really strongly with darning thread, all right? And I left it like this for a minute because I want you to see. I have the darning thread. And then what I did was I put the holes where I wanted them. And you could try to do more than this, but if I go like this here, you'll see. I made it where I have a hole here, here, and here. Hole here, here, and here. And then these 3 are chained together with 1 hook. And these 3 are chained together with 1 hook. And then they're both hooked up to there. So that there's a little distribution when it comes to the weight. It is very, very heavy. All right. And what I will do is once I'm done with this video, I'm actually going to, you can see I just darn the heck out of it. Over and over. And then the holes, I'm taking the holes and I'm going to darn the holes as well. And then I'm going to cover them with duct tape because it will start to split. This thing is, like I said, it's heavy. And the duct tape I have, it seems pretty good. So I'm going to tell you it's called Performix. It's better than the other stuff that I bought before. And I get these 3, I got them at Menards. They were 3 in a container. I think they were like $10 or something like that. And they seem to be working really good. The other thing I want to mention is I had started with towel material. That didn't work as good with the duct tape as cotton. This is just cotton. And this works much better. So I would suggest at least you start with cotton. And because the duct tape will stay adhesive. Did I say that right? You know what I mean? It'll stick on it better. So that's what I would use. Now, I wouldn't do what I did here. I would measure from floor to wherever you want it. And I would make sure that you have at least 4 inches taller. And then what you do is you wrap this over several times and make sure that your needle is going through the wrapped part so that you're really strong there. You don't want just one layer of cloth. You wrap it over and over. So I would go about 4 inches and then just wrap it over. It's going to be very thick. This is very thick in there. And that's why you need to use these ones here too, which I'll show you in a second. But once you get all that done, or let me go back to here. So measure from there and just make sure that it's one piece. It would be so much easier. For me, again, I literally did have it that length. Then I cut it down. I'm like, oh, dang. Then I made it a little bit longer. That wasn't right. So I made it a little bit longer. It seems to be perfect now. So what I did was I sewed it together. And then I sewed it again with really strong darning thread. So I hand sewed it, or sewed it with the sewing machine, and then hand sewed it, because this is where that weight is just pulling down and it's going to separate really easy. And then what I did was I put the duct tape underneath the hem, above the hem, and on the hem. And I just did that a couple times so that it stays together. Now I may end up just covering this whole thing up with a sleeve, so to speak. And that would be perfectly fine. You could do that too, which is actually a good idea. If you're not going to do that, I would use a darker color. Not too dark, just a darker color, because you can see the different color of clothes that I used in here. White, dark, white, dark. I don't really care. I like it. I kind of think, okay, I made this. It's a really great, it's a language to myself that I matter too. You know, I matter to myself to make this. And so I'm okay with it. So anyway, point is, let me show you. I have 2 stools that I used. I have this stool. And once I started putting stuff in this bag and it got heavy and I had to put it up here, I used this stool. And then I have this stool to stand on. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is I started with keys like this. And I actually do have 2 of those holes that are on opposite sides with 2 keychain holders, which I would like to replace with these things that I'm using. Those things are about $6 a piece. They're $6 a piece, something like that. So they're very expensive. I'm using 4 going around and 2 holding it up. And so it costs money. So, but I will eventually go and get them, all right? So, but one of the ways to open up a keychain hole, what I was doing is you put your hoop like this, put your keychain here, and pull this. And with your left hand, hold it, you know, and depending on which hand you use, hold these together and then pull this up and just go like this. Don't try to do this. Go like this. So much easier on your fingers. And you can see I took some off because they just don't hold it up. It's not strong enough. All right. So next thing is just a couple more things here. I'm going to show you inside. So it's held up, and actually there's 2 chains and then the holder, one of these, and 2 chains and one of these. And there's 3 on this side and there's 3 on this side. And I may even make it where there's 4 eventually. I got enough chain where I did that. The people at Home Depot are nice enough. They'll cut it the length you want it. I had it cut for 10 chain lengths, and that worked really good. So you can do it as many as you want. And again, I probably will do 1 more, because the more you distribute that weight, the better it is. One of the things I don't like is this. It just doesn't, it's going to be fine, but I don't know. It doesn't seem very strong. So I'm going to try to find something that will work better. And if I do find something, I will put it in the description below. Any changes or anything, I'll stick in the description below. So now, getting done, only a couple more things. Once you get your stuff made, your little tube made here, you're going to turn it upside down like this, and you're going to duct tape, and you're going to go this way and this way and this way. You put your cloth on first, then you duct tape over and over, and you overlap it so it comes up, up, up. And then I duct taped all the way around. And you can tell it looks a little wonky because that is without it being stretched. And so then what happens is then you start to add your clothes. Now what I did was I added clothes pushed it in as good as I can. And I did have like a little stick. That didn't work. I had to use my hands, pushed it in. And then once you get it to where you want it, just hit both sides like this, you know, and get it to where you want it. It's still not perfectly straight, but it's good enough. And eventually as I punch it, it's going to get straighter. So I added clothes, and then you go up a little bit further. Then you go up a little bit further. Another thing you can do is you can literally add the clothes and then take and put it down and roll it like a rolling pin. And that might work too. The thing is with clothes, it is really heavy. Now it's got clothes up to about here. And then it's got plastic bag. Plastic bag is really light. So if you use plastic bag, you may, and you'll have to check to see, you may want to put a small weight at the bottom. And I had a small weight at the bottom originally, and I took it out. It's just way too heavy. So to just keep it so it would stay down, I don't need it. There's a ton of clothes in here. And it just depends on your preference and how much material you have. So this was clothes that the kids had given me. The thing is this isn't going to make any noise. What's making noise is this plastic. So if that doesn't bother you, then I would definitely use the plastic, because the plastic's lighter and it's probably easier to get. You know, you could have your whole family you just say, save your plastic bags when you go shopping. You're going to need quite a few. I would say, you know, look at it. You're going to need at least like 3 garbage can liners full of plastic bags, and at least 2 to 3 garbage can liners full of clothes if you're going to use the clothes. So that's, you know, you gauge it that way. And I actually have more. I've been saving garbage bag liners for years. All the Walmart, Target, Menards, I save them. I use them as liners in the small garbage cans. But anyway, so I don't really care, because I put my headset on when I'm punching the bag anyway. But, and the thing is there is a slight difference. This is a little less, this one doesn't have as much give. This one has more give to it. But that's also too because I don't have it filled. So as you fill it, it may get a little bit more. It'll probably get stronger. The thing is you're going to hear that noise. So as long as you can deal with that, that's fine. All right, and then the final thing is like I said, I put this on here. I'm probably going to take and make a whole container for this. You know, I'm just going to take and make a liner and just line the whole thing and put it up there again and use that as well, just to make it look a little nicer. Maybe. Right now I'm just going to leave it. I used it yesterday. It worked great. I really do like it a lot. So, but safety first. Make sure that you get the hangers, and make sure you have 3. You should really have 3. And wherever your bag's going to hang, I would actually have those hangers pretty close to help suspend that bag. This, I really don't like this. This kind of worries me. And then also too, I'll be looking for better attachments up there. And when I find better attachments, I will put them in the description below. So, and if I find, I'll tell you what, I'll touch base with this video in 6 months, and then in a year, and if I found something, I will definitely make sure that I write it in there in that description. So that's it for this video. I hope you've liked it. Other thing is I put this over there and lifted this to hook it. I lifted this on top of and put it on here, and then I used my stool and I hooked it up. Man, it was heavy. It's heavy. But the nice thing is I can take it down, put it up, move it around in my little gym, which I love my little gym now. It's so cool. I used it yesterday. I was so happy. It's like, wow, this is so awesome. Can't wait to use it more. So anyway, that's it for this video. Make sure you please like it, subscribe, share with friends and family, drop that comment below. But most importantly, please make sure you stay safe and stay healthy. And I hope to see you back here again next time in Lisa's chat room.